Hello and welcome to The Top Story, a podcast with the headlines of the day from our correspondents around the world. I'm Tianlu. Coming up in this edition. India strikes Pakistan-controlled Kashmir and Pakistan shoots down Indian fighter jets in a major escalation between the nuclear-armed neighbors. The Israeli military carries out an airstrike on Yemen's main aviation hub in Sanaa following a Houthi attack near an airport in central Israel. And new German Chancellor Friedrich Merz presides over his first cabinet meeting after taking office. We begin in Asia. India and Pakistan have exchanged artillery fire after New Delhi launched missiles on Pakistan-controlled Kashmir and eastern Punjab province. At least 26 people died. Pakistan's army has vowed a strong response. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif condemned the airstrikes and said Islamabad will retaliate. The defense minister said they downed several Indian fighter jets. Major cities in Pakistan have declared a state of emergency. This round of hostilities also involves the suspension of a water-sharing treaty. Daniel Khan has more.
The Director General Inter-Service Public Relations of the Pakistan Army has confirmed Indian strikes resulting in multiple civilian casualties and damage to religious and residential sites. Pakistan has responded with air and ground operations, and according to the Pakistani state media, has shot down Indian jets and has also targeted a brigade headquarters inside India. Now the situation has escalated across the line of control. We are also getting reports of arrests of at least 10 Indian soldiers. Meanwhile, flight operations have been suspended in Islamabad, Lahore and Sialkot airports as the situation intensifies, while education institutes have been given holidays. Pakistan has reiterated that any resolution to the ongoing water dispute with India must involve all three stakeholders, Pakistan, India and the World Bank, which acts as a neutral facilitator under the Indus Waters Treaty. Now, being an agrarian country, Pakistan is heavily dependent on the Indus River system for nearly 80% of its agriculture. It has warned that any attempt to block or divert water flows would be viewed as an act of war. The government has already approached both the World Bank and the United Nations, urging them to step in amid fears of escalating regional tensions. The dispute centers on projects India is undertaking on western rivers allocated to Pakistan, which Islamabad claims violate treaty provisions.
That was Daniel Khan in Pakistan. India says it targeted 9 sites in Pakistan and Pakistani Kashmir. The Defense Ministry said the operation was a precise and restrained response to the attack in the tourist region on India's side of Kashmir. The ministry said the strikes hit what India calls terrorist infrastructure and avoided military facilities. Ravinder Bawa reports.
India is anticipating retaliatory action and so they are prepared for that. Many places have been shut off, a lot of airspace to several northern cities. Flights have been cancelled. Srinagar and the border areas are on high alert as far as Delhi is concerned. A lot of tension across. These are tense times because there have been casualties on both the sides. We heard from the Foreign Minister, Mr. S. Shankar, saying that zero tolerance to terrorists. The nations should actually walk the talk. As far as the people's reaction, there was a sentiment in the country that India should, avenge these killings which happened in a Pahalgam terror attack, and that is what the mood was. There was a bit of pressure on the government. So the, level of expectation had already been raised, the bar had been raised, and so there was, it was expected that India is going to take some kinetic action. We had heard in the speeches of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Defense Minister and other leaders that we will strike back after meetings with various defense heads. The Prime Minister had given free hand to the defense forces to choose their target and time, and that's what we got to see on Tuesday and Wednesday morning.
That was Ravinder Bawa reporting. Moving to the Middle East, the Israeli military has carried out an airstrike on Yemen's main aviation hub in Sanaa following a Houthi attack near an airport in central Israel. Houthi-run media say 3 people died. The general director at Sanaa International Airport has suspended all flights. Israel also targeted Hodeidah seaport. Jonathan Regev reports.
A strike in Yemen for the second consecutive day. This time a powerful strike hitting the Sanaa International Airport and a few other facilities. It is, of course, not just a coincidence. It comes a little more than 48 hours after that Houthi missile, which hit Ben Gurion Airport, and Israel vowed to retaliate. We saw the first retaliation targeting the Hodeidah seaport, now the Sanaa Airport, and what Israel is hoping to achieve is a complete blockade of the Houthi-controlled part of Yemen, meaning no goods coming in from the sea through the Hodeidah seaport, no goods coming through the air to the Sanaa airport. And Israel is sending here 2 messages. One is the attempted blockade of the Houthi-controlled areas, and second, a message also to the Houthis, but mostly to other elements in the Middle East as well. If you hit Israeli airports, then Israel will strike back.
A Houthi leader said the group will continue their attacks to support Gaza. He asked Israelis to seek shelter because the Houthis believe Israel's government will not be able to protect them. In Europe, new German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said he's concerned about Israel's plan to control aid delivery in Gaza, and his foreign minister will travel to Israel this weekend. Merz also presided over his first cabinet meeting after taking office on Tuesday. The Christian Democratic Union leader is the first chancellor since World War II that failed to win election on the first vote. Chinese President Xi Jinping is among the leaders that congratulated the new German leader. Peter Oliver reports from Berlin.
It was expected that Friedrich Merz would sail through. It didn't quite work out like that. We saw for the first time in German post-war history a chancellor not be able to get his coalition deal over the line in Parliament. 310 votes was all he received. He needed 316 first time out. They were able to get a second round of voting greenlit for the same day. And then it was up to the parliamentary whips, it would seem, to try and make sure that everybody was going to be voting the way they had been, told they were supposed to vote in these type of agreements. In the end, 325 out of the 328 MPs that make up the 3 parties that are in this coalition sided with Friedrich Merz. What it does mean is that his chancellorship has got off to something of an inauspicious start, considering the amount of unifying he has to do. He isn't really doing much of a job of making the coalition itself really unified. What we have heard, though, is some positive responses from international leaders to the news that Friedrich Merz has been confirmed. We've heard from Ursula von der Leyen, the EU Commission President, describing Friedrich Merz as both a personal friend and an expert on Europe. We've also heard from Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, saying that he hoped that Friedrich Merz's election as German president would see more German leadership in the EU and when it came to transatlantic matters. One of the key jobs for Friedrich Merz, though, is to try and turn around the woes of the ailing German economy. We're staring down the barrel of a 3rd consecutive year of recession here. It's going to be quite the job to take on.
That was Peter Oliver reporting. Finally, in China, China's central bank has announced cuts in reserve requirement ratio and policy rates and lowered interest rates on personal housing provident fund loans. The measures are part of China's new financial incentives to stabilize the economy. The People's Bank of China also unveiled supportive policies for scientific innovation and expanding consumption. Regulators in the financial sector and the stock market vowed to inject more certainty into the economy and help small and private businesses through difficulties. Sun Tianyuan has more.
Chinese officials are rolling out new financial measures to help stabilize market expectations as global uncertainty grows. Authorities say China's key financial indicators have stayed strong this year despite challenges. The economy has shown great resilience and the ability to handle risks. China's central bank said it will cut the reserve requirement by 0.5 percentage points, and this move is expected to provide 1 trillion yuan in long-term liquidity into the market. That's about $138 billion. Policies to support tech innovation and small businesses were also a major focus. For example, the central bank will raise the special loan quota for tech upgrades from 500 billion yuan to 800 billion yuan. The National Financial Regulatory Administration also announced new steps to boost financing and investment for small firms, private businesses, and tech-driven companies. Despite complex global trade conditions, officials say China remains on track for high-quality growth. They emphasize more stable and predictable macro policies. The China Securities Regulatory Commission said it will offer more flexible rules for listed companies heavily affected by tariffs, especially in financing, to help ease their difficulties. Strong support is on the way through both policy and funding. Officials say more measures are coming to keep growth on a steady, high-quality path.
That was Sun Tianyuan reporting. Recapping today's headlines. India has struck Pakistan-controlled Kashmir and Pakistan claims to have shot down Indian fighter jets. The Israeli military has launched strikes on Yemen's airport and seaport. And new German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has presided over his first cabinet meeting after taking office. That's it for this edition of The Top Story, a podcast that brings you world headlines every weekday. For more news in politics, business, sports and culture, you can subscribe to the Beijing Hour, a 1-hour podcast news magazine program. We welcome and appreciate all ratings and reviews. I'm Tianlu. Thank you for listening.